guys for coming. I'm Gretchen Carswell. I am going to be moderating this panel on first day on sets. With me, we've got Jarrod Russell. Jarrod is a cinematographer and an actor known for work on Captain America, Brave New World, Body of Lies, and The Box. Next to Jarrod, we've got Jessie Robinson. Jessie is a local guy. As a SAG-AFTRA actor, he's been on screen for Netflix, ABC, ESPN, Apple Plus, CBS, Discovery, all kinds of things. Claim to fame, I'm saying that's claim to fame, is that he was Christian Bale's body double during his Academy Award portrayal of Dick Cheney in the Vice movie. And he is also a producer, writer, doing all kinds of things, both locally and out in LA. So welcome these guys. And then we'll have a third one joining us as well. That's Roos, and she is also a assistant director and all things.
Freaking Emily, she's always late.
Right, so today we're going to talk about your first days on set. Obviously, you've been on a lot of sets, both probably as actors, as producers, as cinematographers. Is there one day that you want to talk about to start off with? Which one is your craziest first day?
I've got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't wait. My first day on set as what I would consider being a professional actor. I was still in high school, and I got a two-line part in a History Channel reenactment show that they shot down in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. I was a book salesman, and I have brief interaction with the lead. First time on set, I got there, I'm still 17 years old, and you go through the whole check-in process, and they went through a brief period of telling me I might not be able to work that day because I wasn't 18 yet. And so I had to just sit there in holding, not knowing what was going to happen. I had been cast in this role, I was so excited, and they kind of just gave the wink and the nod, and they said, just go to set. We're going to forge the paperwork, which they did, and I got to work that day. I remember I had no idea what to expect getting on set. I was in full 1800s period clothing. I had brought my tennis shoes. Just, it's cobblestone, you're in the uncomfy shoes. I brought my tennis shoes. And I remember being accosted by the wardrobe woman. She came up to me and she said, I don't know why you've done this. Why have you done this for me bringing my shoes to set? And I'm like, can I just leave them in the van? Is that okay? I don't know why you've done this. And I was like, somebody's must be having a bad day or something. But so yeah, that was me being thrown into the fire as an actor first day on set for the History Channel. Yeah.
Well, I could actually tell a couple stories. I forgot I did do acting. You looked at my IMDb. I'll tell an acting story. Not my first day on set, but my first day on a big feature. It was this movie called Iron Jawed Angels. I was in college. It had Hilary Swank and some people in there, and I was an extra. And I was in line getting lunch, and this crazy woman comes up to me and she says, act like you smack me in the face and tell me to shut up. And I was like, oh, what? And she was just like, pretend to smack me in the face and tell me to shut up. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And so, I go and do the thing, and she was like, okay, come with me. And she grabs my arm, takes me to a group of men who were dressed. This was a period movie about women's suffrage. And she drops me off at this group of men, and they were the stuntmen. And basically, that was the director, and she wanted me to play this part. The guy was going to play this part. She didn't like it, she didn't like his portrayal of it, so she thought this random dude in line at catering would be better. And so I became the shut up guard in Iron Jawed Angels, which was pretty interesting. I went from being a extra to like a featured character, and I had some speaking lines and everything, which was a trip for sure. Yeah. On the crew side, if I can take even more of your time.
Take it.
This isn't a PG. Joe, you brought me here, so here we are. I was a PA, my first movie, I was a PA on. The acting thing was just for fun. So first movie I was a PA on, and Dave Matthews, I think I spoke to some of you about this earlier. It's a movie called, I can't even remember the name of the movie. Anyways, Dave Matthews, Sissy Spacek, Rebecca Romaine, if I think of it, I'll tell you later. But Dave Matthews is there. He's, big time rock star. And he travels with his assistant. Many famous people have an assistant for them. And so he's doing his thing, and I'm just a PA. I'm just kind of, messing around. And his assistant comes up to me, and we're talking about music. I went to school for music and everything. And he's like, man, do you have a bowl like on you? And I was like, that's a weed pipe, just so you all know. And I was like drinking a Coke, and I said, no, but I have a pocket knife and a can of Coke. And he said, let's go to Dave's trailer. And so I said, all right, let's go. And so I make a bowl out of a can. I don't know if you all grew up in the era that I did, but that's how we did it back in the day. And so we're smoking weed, and I didn't really smoke that much weed because I was at work, but I was like not gonna not smoke weed in Dave Matthews' trailer with his assistant, because when am I ever gonna find myself in this situation again? Anyways, the teamster who is in charge of that trailer did not like that very much. And this was in like 2007, so weed was not as looked upon as it is. And he tells on me. And so the second AD comes up to me, and he's like, dude, were you getting high in Dave's trailer? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I was like, told him the story, like, this is what happened. Like, he's like, Jesus, man, Teamster, this guy, Jerry, he's all pissed off. He's making this big stink about it. And the assistant goes and gets Dave, and Dave's like, what's the problem, And we tell him the story, and he goes, it's my fucking trailer, and I support the actions that were happening in it. And so if anyone's got a problem with me, I thought that was for me, and if I'm okay with them doing that in there, so let's let this go. And he got me out of trouble, so that was fun.
That's why we love Dave.
Very nice.
Yes. I also have a Dave Matthews story. I went to VCU down in Richmond, and he lived in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And so he used to do like a college tour every night during the week. Dave would go play different clubs around Central Virginia, and Tuesday nights it was VCU at a bar there, and we did tequila shots. We weren't smoking bowls in a trailer, but we were just doing tequila shots.
He didn't smoke, just his assistant, but he did at that time drink quite a bit.
He seems like he could go either way, bowl or shots.
Yeah.
Either way.
We love Dave.
Yeah.
We do. He's a sweetheart.
All right, so from a first day standpoint, let's talk about crew days.
Yeah.
First day on the crew, depending on how you got there, who invited you, how you got in the room, did you feel like you belonged, or did you feel like a complete and total outsider?
I would say first time on a large scale, like Netflix-sized crew, I had been an actor on season 1 of I Think You Should Leave, Tim Robinson's show for Netflix.
Great show.
If you know the sketch, it's the T.C. Tuggers sketch where I'm pulling on my shirt and dancing. It was a great time for season 1. When it came time for season 2, they said, well, we don't have anything sketch-wise, but do you want to work? Do you want to like be in transpo department? And I didn't know what that was or what that entailed. And cut to me, 6 a.m. just sweating, schlepping cables and vacuuming the entire studio at the end of the day. These like 16, 18-hour days as a truck PA. First person up to go pick up a giant cube in Sun Valley and drive it all the way into Hollywood for the shoot, and then drive it all the way back to Sun Valley, get in my car, then drive back into the heart of LA. So my first crew experience was a bit of an awakening, yeah. But it was fun. It led to a bunch more gigs, working on the truck, and made a lot of great friends on the crew too as a result, yeah.
Nice. What about you, Jarrod?
Yeah, the first-ish, is that what we're talking about? First-ish, like, crew time, where if I felt like I belonged? Yeah, I don't know if I felt like a sense of belonging, but I knew that I wanted to be there, and that's what I wanted to do for sure. When I was, it's overwhelming. My first time like on a set was like on a pretty large, I had done a lot of, I started in music and then transitioned to film and TV. But my first like set was on How I Got It. The transition was we were filming a commercial that was a fake concert. And so I had the music background, and then there's a film aspect of it, and it was like pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do for sure. I'm glad I'm here.
Was there a unique moment at the beginning? Obviously, we're talking about first time, so somewhere close to the first time, where you made just a raging mistake and said, "Oh, shit." And then how did you fix it? And how did anyone notice it? How bad was it?
Ooh. I definitely told a lot of talent to park in the wrong place. They had me back on the crew for Sarah Cooper, Everything's Fine for Netflix, again in sort of like the swing between like a set PA and transpo, and kind of doing a bit of everything, running around essentially. And they were like, yeah, no, that's fine. Just as soon as they get here, tell them to park right up front and go in. And that was not where they were supposed to have parked. And so we had to go through the whole process of getting talent who are already into set, Jane Lynch, Fred Armisen, people who you don't want to make them go back out to their car. We had to go through that process. So, and I was the one who relayed the information of where to park. So it looked like it was on me. Yeah.
That's when the sneakers would have come in handy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What about you, Jerem?
I don't know of any big mistakes necessarily, because I was, not that I'm whatever, but I was very cautious. So yeah, one mistake that I think I wasted a lot of time on being offset was I was trying to shine for this DP, Michael Bonnevilian. He's an ASC cinematographer. I was a second AC for C camera, and so basically I'm just like everyone's secretary in the department. And so Michael didn't get lunch or breakfast and the time allotted, so I was sent to get him his breakfast. And so he comes up to me, he's like, oh yeah, I saw, everyone had some oatmeal. It'd be really nice to have, some oatmeal with a little brown sugar, maybe some blueberries. That would be really nice to have some blueberries on there. And I was like, oh yeah, I saw some people with that too. I didn't. And so I go to the truck. It's closed. There's usually on like a bigger feature or TV, they have like a food truck in the morning that you can kind of order whatever you want. And so I'm like, yo, y'all got to help me out. I need oatmeal, and I need brown sugar, and I need blueberries for the DP. And dude's like, oh man, we're out of blueberries. And I was like, okay, all right, cool, well, give me some oatmeal. And so Teamsters take you back and forth from set to crew parking or wherever the lunch is. And I'm like, dude, you got to take me to the grocery store, and I got to get blueberries. And he's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I'm serious. And so we look up, there's a Food Lion. I go get blueberries, rinse them off, because I can't make it seem like I got these blueberries and put them on there myself. And so I come back, I got the oatmeal. It's not warm anymore, but it has blueberries and brown sugar. And then I'm so proud. I give it to him, and he's like, oh, cool. And he takes like a bite, and he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he like sets it down on the tail end of the generator, like on the thing, and there it sat for the whole day. He never touched it again, and all of that effort was just for that one bite that he had, all my hard work, and he just left it right there.
That one bite though was so delicious.
It better have been
worth it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about sets and first days on sets. Obviously, a lot of crew, a lot of people, a lot of actors, a lot of everything. Who was the first person that really stepped in and gave you a piece of advice, and do you still stick to it, follow it, or did you say that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard? Years later, look back at it and go, yeah, I didn't need that.
This was before I really got into, I was just coming out of school, still studying to be an actor and learning to get onto sets. I get to meet Robin Williams in 2013 before he passed.
Oh, Emily's decided to join us. Oh, that's great.
Come.
Oh, good. Glad you could grace us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're here.
I'm so sorry, guys.
This is Emily.
Adventure getting here.
Hi,
I'm
Emily.
Gretchen.
Hi,
Nice to
I'm
meet you.
Emily. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
He was just telling us this amazing story about meeting Robin Williams, Jessie.
Oh, yes. Yes, I met Robin in 2013, and the advice was just because I said I wanted to be in comedy, and I wanted to be an actor, and I wanted to be involved with all these things, and he's just said, show up and be a good person, is what he said. And so I took that, and I think it goes across the board, actor, producer, even if you're, hauling cable or getting the blueberries, right? Show up and be a good person. Yeah. Just to, put a pin in that, I do think that, it's just important to check whatever ego you might have at the door when you are a good person on set. I mean, there was a period, especially like during COVID in LA, where, on one hand, I was story producing a reality series for Crackle, and I was like at the top and like, sitting down with the talent, facilitating interviews, doing all this. And then when that was done and there wasn't any work, I was back to, schlepping cables again, and for bigger like Netflix style sets.
Right.
And you kind of just have to check the ego at the door, and yes, here we go. What can I do for you to make this production better? So yeah, checking the ego and being a good person, I would say. Yeah.
Emily, I'll throw this one to you since you came in late. So who was the first person on set that really kind of came to you with advice? What was the advice, and do you still follow it?
Actually, yes. The first feature film I ever worked on as a second AD. And a second AD is basically the part of the assistant director department. I was working with a producer. It was my second day on set, and I was starting to kind of understand the language of set, which actually made me more terrified, because it was like I was confronted with this reality about what we were doing. And it was clear that I was kind of like walking on eggshells around everyone and trying not to,
You don't want to be the weirdo.
The camera department,
The newbie.
G&E, like everybody was very intense, and this was in New York. I just moved there. And the producer pulled me aside. Actually, he was the line producer. He pulled me aside and he said, you know, just stake your claim. As soon as you land on set, you know, early and often stake your claim. And that was an invaluable lesson to me, because I think that was something, especially as a woman working at that time solely in the AD department, it was very refreshing to hear somebody else give me that advice, because I otherwise would have just kind of been floundering for the entire 3 weeks we were on set, just kind of like, oh, like, should I be paying this much attention to this person but not this person? Like, what should I be doing? I learned pretty quickly, like, where I belonged, which happened to be on set.
That's awesome. What about you, Jarrod?
Yeah, for me, it's always been trying to find my way into like the most, surrounding myself with the most, like the best of the best people that I could, have access to. And then when I do happen to get around those people, I've been fortunate enough to work under 12 ASC cinematographers. And when I do get over, into those positions, it's really just like, some of them are really cool with like giving you advice and letting you be a part of it, and sometimes they're not so much. So it's just like taking advantage of it when they are. And so there's been a few of them that really just open their arms and open their knowledge to me, and then really, like, for me, it was, just inviting me into the DIT tent, if you all are familiar with what that is, or just like coming on set while we're lighting it and be like, what would you do, or what do you think we should do, or that kind of stuff, and just taking advantage of those situations and all that good stuff.
Nice. You touched on it a little bit.
Hey, y'all over there.
Oh boy.
Hi. Hey, friends. Hi. Are you guys going to talk the whole time we are, or just... Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
So, Emily, you touched on this just briefly, but going into set, you are new there. It can be very intimidating. What was the one part of the culture on set that maybe surprised you, that you weren't expecting, that you sort of had to figure out?
So I wasn't on my first set until I was 35 years old. I had a whole life and a whole career before working in film.
You've only been doing this for like 2 years, 3 years?
Thank you.
Aha.
That's so nice.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yes, it will in this industry. So I was working in advertising as a sales exec, and I was also like producing campaigns for clients, and I worked as a paralegal for a bit. I was a stunt person. I had a martial arts background the whole life before, And then, so I came to the film industry assuming that a set ran like a company or a corporation. I didn't know that it was more like a military, unit. So, I mean, again, that was another thing that took me, I don't think it was until I was like 3 projects in where I was looking around and I was like, wait a minute, these people, like, these are not my colleagues at that advertising firm I worked for or at that law firm I worked for. This is a very different dynamic. And it took me a minute to embrace it because, again, I was used to like working very closely with clients and with partners and decision makers. And then as soon as I realized that like I chose to be in this much more dynamic and exciting field, I sort of started to find my footing. What was the question again? I feel like I'm...
Was there part of the culture that either
yes.
you weren't expecting or came as a surprise? Yes. Or
I think that was it. Like,
yeah.
I did expect a different work culture. I'm really glad that it's not what I expected it to be. I made some assumptions early on, and I'm glad that I was wrong.
Yeah. What about you, Jarrod?
I like I said earlier, I went to school for music, and also Parks and Recreation. Those were my
Yeah.
yes. So I literally, no shit, did my internship at this parks, like Chesterfield County Parks and Recreation Department, and it was very much like the TV show, with all the different personalities and all of the crazy things. And I learned there that I didn't think I was ever going to be able to work like a 9 to 5. And so after college, I immediately started, working in the music and trying to get into the film stuff as well. And I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that I didn't want that life of this 9 to 5, weekends off only, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
What about you, Jesse?
I think, coming into this at the start, I thought, okay, well, you do one thing, right? You're an actor, or you're a comedian, or you pick a lane. That was always the advice I got. You pick a lane. Now, having been through it for several years, if you want to make a living just in entertainment, it's the exact opposite. You can't just focus on the one thing. You can practice and get better at that one thing, but in order to survive, you must do other things. Like, I'm an arts educator, comedian, actor, story producer, doing all these different things just to pay the bills in order to say I have one career in entertainment. But you have to cobble all these things together in order to make it work. So I think that's the big thing that I went in thinking it's one thing, and that's what you'll do, and it's the exact opposite. For me, at least, trying to make it work as a whole entertainer. So that's for me, yeah.
Right. So my sort of history with sets is I'm a creative director in advertising, so I'm usually the client on a set. So my experience is very different because mine is usually everyone running around trying to make me happy, make sure I'm okay, make sure everything looks good, whatever. But has there been, I try not to be the jerk, Jesse, so just so you know, but is there like a client, a director, a producer, somebody that was just constantly on your ass all the time and you could never please them? Anybody can start.
I got one right off the bat.
Sure.
As an actor,
And you don't have to name names if you don't want to. Okay.
I forget his name, honestly. It was one of my first times doing one of those investigation discovery shows, like the reenactment shows as an actor, and I was playing the policeman who finds the dead body, and they have this close-up on me as I'm like examining the body, and the director was like vehemently yelling at me, like, "What are you doing with your face? Can you stop doing that with your face?" And I was like, "What is it? What am I doing?"
It's just my face.
And there was nothing. And he's like, "Just tone it down with the face." And I'm like, "Okay." So now I'm just like blankly reviewing the body. No, that's just about it. But it was a learning lesson too in eye work, at least for an actor on camera. I didn't think it was too over the top what I was doing, but he didn't know my name. He clearly didn't want to be there. Clearly a big shot director who got demoted into investigation discovery work at the time. And he was a bit of a bear the entire week-long shoot. But yeah, I remember the whole like, "Stop that with your face." Yeah.
What about you, Jarrod?
One comes to mind. There's probably others, but I was talking about these ASC cinematographers where some are very welcoming to whatever and some aren't. This person, Marvin Rush, is his name, is kind of just like an egomaniac and kind of a dick. And so when we're on set, we're spoken to through our radios in our department. And I'm setting a light, and this happened, there was all kinds of this, but this one time, and I'm setting a light, and I'm getting talked to by the gaffer in my ear, and then he comes over, and he's like, "What are you doing with that light? You need to be like this." And so I'm like doing that, and he's like, "No, Jarrod, drop it down," and I'm like smiling, and then the gaffer starts laughing because he sees what's happening. And so I start laughing, and the DP's just like, "What's so funny? what is so funny? This isn't a joke. This is people's safety. You would never just leave this happen and all this stuff. And I was just like, dude, I was like, you don't understand what's happening. I was like, he's telling me what to do right now through the radio. Like, I wanted to be like, go back behind the camera and do your job. But I had to just sit there and like endure it. And he was like that for 4 seasons, of this show called Turn, Washington Spies for AMC, that I did. And but we got through it.
Was he like that all 4 seasons?
Yeah, he sucked. I mean, he was, like if there was a 5th, I would have been like, no. But it was good money. It was like at my home, so I could go home, and I was still, but yeah, it was rough.
That's why I don't do TV.
So on set then, what's yours?
Okay, so I've established that I'm a first AD. Obviously, I have many, many, many stories. I'm going to take a step back and talk about producing. I was producing a commercial for a very big client. The agency was LA based, some of the advice I got from, I think she was the creative director of this agency, it was a one-day shoot.
Was she giving us all bad names? Because now I'm like, that's what I do. I don't want to be tagged in.
No, not at all. This was very specific to her. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Call time was 7. I think our shooting call was 9. At 8 o'clock, she comes over to me and she says, we need you to look busier. The client likes to see busyness. And meanwhile, like, I'm a first AD too, right? So I like to run a cool, calm, collaborative, quiet, respectful set. I cannot stand somebody throwing pots and pans around in the kitchen. I cannot work like that. So I'm like thinking in my head, I'm all in my head about it, and I'm like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I make us look busier? We're so set up. We're good. We have our shit together. What do I do to make us look busier? So I'm starting to do I just create some trash and have somebody clean it up? Like, what do I do? And I kind of, I was in my head about it for like 5 minutes. I'm running around and I'm like, let's busy, guys. Let's just make sure you pick that up. And then I had a moment where it's just like, wait a minute, this is a one-day shoot. Like, it's a one-day shoot. I'll be fine. We'll be fine. So I kind of just like, again, that's when you stake your claim and you decide, I'm going to continue to produce the way I produce, And I did. It turned out to be a great shoot. It was actually weirdly one of my favorite shoots. But yeah, for a moment there, that was, and she did kind of, I felt the heat all day long. I felt the heat.
The pressure.
I just kind of stuck to my guns. I was like, I'm not going to do that,
We may have had the same client, because we had a client who was like this, and the people were coming up to me going, what do I do? And I go, I don't know, you have a clipboard. Like, just keep looking from page to page to page on the clipboard. I was like, you have a binder. Just keep flipping through the binder. And like, it kind of worked. They're like, oh, what are you guys looking at? And I was like, literally nothing. They're not looking at anything. They're just trying to make you happy.
Yeah,
I will say, as an actor, I've never had a bad run-in with any ad agency people or whatever. I've done.
Thanks for that, Jesse.
No,
I appreciate
seriously,
that.
I've done 3 national spots with Martin out of Richmond, Virginia, and they're fantastic. They've always treated me first class. I interned
there when I was in college.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That was my first job.
But yeah, no, ad people are great. Yeah.
Okay, well, you can come back. All right. All right, so back to this. I think sets are fascinating. I always think tasks are fascinating and what gets assigned to different people. What is the weirdest ask you ever got on set? First set or not? I mean, I think this can go beyond first set at this point.
So I was, a couple of friends of mine, they decided to do an indie Western feature a couple of years ago. They gave me a role in it, which was fun. I was like an old-timey newspaper man. But on the days that I wasn't shooting, I volunteered to PA and help out just as free labor for them. They're my friends. I wanted a great product at the end. I remember on one of my PA days, first thing in the morning, because the budget was low, they were doubling 2 grips staying in the same trailer that talent would then stay in later as their holding area. And these, I won't mention names, but 2 well-known actors as the leads of this Western, they were to be in this trailer. But the grips had been in there sleeping and living all night. And my buddy, who is the co-director and producer, he comes up to me and he holds up a toilet wand. And he said, one of the guys splattered all over the trailer bathroom. Before insert talent name here arrives, can you go clean out the entire... And I had just been on set as an actor the day before with the golden treatment, right? You're, in your own trailer, you're having everybody touch you up with the last looks, you're living it up, and then the next morning someone's holding a toilet wand in my face saying, go clean up this gaffer's shit that's all over the trailer. And I did. I had to go scrub it at like 6:30 in the morning and clean it up before the major talent arrived.
That definitely sounds like indie film work.
Oh,
right
indie. We loved it.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I loved that time. We were out in Landers in the desert in California. Yeah.
Jarrod, what about you?
Well, I kind of told 2 of them, I guess, a little bit of the oatmeal and the weed thing. But
Where do you go from there?
I know. Another one that comes to mind was not too long ago. I was in upstate New York, and it was like some COVID, still not really COVID, but COVID, I guess. And one of the actors that was supposed to be just there for a day to do this one scene was there, could not make it. And my crew, they know me, and so they're like, Jarrod will do it, Jarrod will do it. He'll do anything. And so the director comes up to me. He's like, hey, mate, he's a British guy. He's like, hey, mate, do you really want to do this? I think you could do great. If you can, we can make it happen. We'll cover you when you do the scene. And I'm like, oh, man, all right. I guess so. And I was like, give me the pages. So it's like supposed to be me, like, making out with this girl at this overlook, and I'm like, I'm getting very pushy with her, and so I'm like, dude, man, I can't do this. I was like, we gotta change this somehow, I was like, I can't make out with this person, and then 2, like, what the hell, and so we changed it a little bit. I did do the scene, and the guy that I played, he gets killed by a zombie, which is kind of cool. So I got to get my head chopped off by a zombie. So that was worth it all, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
Yeah. Zombie Apache. It'll be out. It'll be out soon. You guys can check it out.
What about you, Emily?
Oh God. Let's see. So I got to think about this. Okay. I worked as a producer's assistant for 3 days on a movie. There's a reason why it was only 3 days. On a movie out in the western slope of Colorado, like the Durango, Silverton, Purgatory, Pagosa Springs area. On the 3rd day, the producer calls me up. He's like, hey, we're going to drive out to this place where we might shoot part of the movie. I need you to drive me. And I was like, okay. I mean, I know how to handle 4-wheel drive. High clearance,
Like, I was a stunt woman. I know what I'm doing.
I know how to, But then I learned more about the road, and it was like truly like off-roading. Like, you need an ATV. Not only did I need to drive like a high clearance like 4-wheel drive vehicle, but there was like some maneuvering around these boulders involved. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this, and why are we doing this? Like, how are we gonna get, when we actually do shoot, because we have like hundreds of background. This was like a big like war movie sort of a thing. I'm like, how are we gonna get everybody there? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable driving you. And he's like, you know what, you're probably right, not a good idea. And we ended up like just not because of me, but for one reason or another, like we ended up not scouting that day. I think they ultimately did end up scouting there and filming there and everything. Everything was fine. I'm going to continue on with the story. There's an extended version. I'm going to veer away from the original question a little bit here, but later that day, I actually had a photo shoot up in a part of the Southwest called Mullis Pass. It's a notoriously hairy drive in Colorado. And I got up there, did the photo shoot. On my way back to my home in Colorado, I hit a buck in my car, totaled my car, and that's actually why that was my last day on that movie, because I could no longer commute to set. So anyways, that was that, and it, you know, all this worry about safety and I can't drive you, like I get, I don't. What if something happens? Well, I ended up hitting a buck in my car later that day, so just figures. There's a lot of synchronicity in my stories, by the way, like in this industry.
No, I love it.
You guys, does that happen to you? Like, you say no to something and then later you end up saying yes to it, but you didn't want to, or like just weird stuff. But yeah.
All right, so while we're kind of on the topic of that, and I guess you're the unique answer to this question, is as a woman on these sets, did you ever feel like you had to do anything different to prove yourself, to stand out, to make your voice heard when everybody else might be a little bit more intimidating or loud, even though somebody did tell you to stake your claim early?
Bathroom breaks. As the first AD, being a woman, there's a day out of the month where it's just a little more challenging. That always falls on a day where we're shooting outside in a place that does not have quick access to a restroom. And so that's usually that right there, that alone, and also something I've noticed and something I'm trying to encourage other women ADs to do more of is fucking sit down. Like, it is so hard for women ADs to sit down. I see men ADs sit down all the time. They're just sitting there, like, hey, rolling, da-da. And I would have never done that. And then, about 6 months ago, I was on a set and I was working with a male AD. I was producing and I was watching how he worked and I was like, that guy sat the whole time. And he looked so boss and he had total command of the set. I was like, I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna sit down.
But when I do it, man, I feel so guilty. I'm like there and just like I'm on the I'm ready.
Did you start with a lean?
Like, I swear to God, I'm not really sitting. I think that for me, it's physical things. I try to move beyond the mental aspects because I'm aware of what those mean too. But like, I think just being more comfortable in that space in general through physicality, I think helps me emotionally and mentally be there. So yeah,
like
sit down, people. Sit down.
So, we have our 10-minute mark, 15-minute mark. I should have my glasses on. Okay, has there been, and you don't need to name names, but has there been somebody on set who you looked up to, that you really appreciated their work, and they ended up just being terrible piece of shit people? Or the opposite, where you really weren't expecting much of them, but they kind of took you under your wing and said, let me show you around and what a great job you're doing, or whatever?
I'll go with the latter, because it was more of a nice thing. Season 1 of Swagger, I was cast in a very mean, nasty role. And I didn't think I would, have much attention paid to me as sort of the villain of these two scenes. But the director of the show, Reggie Blythewood, he was also the executive producer. At first, obviously, he had other things going on, and I'm like, okay, well, this is probably going to be just the throwaway villain lines, and then I go home or whatnot. But he sat and talked with me for a good 30 minutes before our scene and our moment. And he said, I want you to play this villainous sort of character, this, I don't know, for lack of a better phrasing, sort of MAGA-y type guy.
Is that the bus scene?
It was
at the restaurant?
Episode 7, Radicals.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I sort of, I verbally accost the players, and there's this whole moment because they take a knee during the anthem, and it starts this whole thing. He said, I don't want you to play it like a caricature. I want you to play it and find the truth and the reality of the people who believe these things and bring that to the screen. So it was a really nice moment where you could totally just ignore me and I'd be the throwaway villain lines, but you just spent 30 minutes trying to help me find the truth of the character. Super talented director, and it was awesome to work with him. Yeah.
Awesome. Joe, what about you?
There's been so many, there's been, some bad ones. Mandy Patinkin sucks, but there's been some really great ones. And one of my favorites is how I met who I consider, we're friends now, was in one of my favorite movies, is John Heder from Napoleon Dynamite. And he's just one of the most amazing, kindest people. And I shot a movie with him as the star, and we just became really close friends, just hanging out every weekend. And he'd be like, "Have your kids seen the movie?" And they like Napoleon is like, "I'll come over and play board games, and and like with your family and all this stuff." And we ended up doing like so much, so many things, going to arcades and whitewater rafting and everything, and we still text and all that good stuff. So it was really like nice surprise to not that you would think he would be anyway, but he was just even more so the sweetest person, one of the sweetest people I've ever met.
My friend's son just did a movie with him and said the exact same thing.
Which one?
Tapawingo?
Yeah, I shot that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So Sawyer Williams.
Yeah, Sawyer. Yeah, he's great.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, he did a great job.
What about you, Emily?
So many. So many good turn wrong and so many wrong turn good. I'm gonna try to do something a little different here. So I'm also a screenwriter, and I'm very skeptical of anybody who wants my money, anybody who wants to teach me how to write. So I'm like, well, I know how to write. I read screenplays and I watch movies. Why do I need to pay money to? I mean, I ended up signing up for like a master class, and which was like basically like this 2-year-long program, which was mind-blowing. It was everything I needed. But still after that, I ended up writing a screenplay that generated some heat. And I still felt like I was missing something. And I feel like I'm aware that I have blind spots as a person, but also as a writer. And so I decided to take a chance and hire a consultant to work with me on storytelling. And I was very kind of like defensive at first, because there was that part of me that's just like, well, I'm paying you money, what do you really know? But about 3 or 4 sessions in, I had a pretty big breakthrough, and it completely upended the story I wrote. I ended up having to do like 15 or 20 more rewrites to get to the thing that I needed to get to in order to feel like it was ready. So yeah, I guess it was not really a person as it was like a mental block that
just
I
an
had.
experience.
An experience, yeah.
Awesome. I think we're at probably like 10 minutes left. Do you want to ask you a couple last questions? One is, we've got people here, we're streaming. What would you tell somebody when they get ready for their first day on set?
Get a good night's sleep the night before. Wear comfortable clothes. Be ready for anything. Be ready for anything. And that goes for any position, too, from actor all the way down the line. I would just say be ready for anything. Come, especially if you're an actor, come knowing your lines, knowing what you need to do. Like, I've seen so many actors, I think Jeff Daniels called it the flop sweat, right? Where they show up and they can't deliver because they don't know the lines, they don't know the material, and it's embarrassing for you as a performer. So I would just say, rest, hydrate, be comfortable in your clothing and in yourself, and show up prepared.
Jay?
Yeah, I would just say, definitely sleep, rest, and shoes. Shoes are a big thing. We talked about those earlier. I wear a different pair of shoes pretty much every day. And then not brand new every day, but I rotate. I'm not that fancy. But you know, stay humble. Stay humble and be cool. That's the most thing. If you're humble, ready to learn, someone is there ready to teach you. And if you're cool, they'll want to teach you and they'll want to work with you more. So those are the most important things that I've really found. I mean, you can learn anything, especially the amount of hours you put into doing something like this. You're there so much. You're there so many hours that if you have the initiative, you can get good at it. Because there was things where I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to do that. Like, you know, when I first started, and it was like, I can't wait to do that, you know, that same thing. And so, yeah, just there's people there that'll definitely teach you and take you under their wing. And if you're humble and cool, yeah. And show up on time. That's very big. People do not like it when you're late.
I was just going to say, it's more important to be on time than to be perfect. And I say that.
Yeah,
Fully well aware of the
100%.
fact that I showed up 15 minutes later. But I think that rule applies to basically everything in life. If you're turning in a project, it's more important to turn it in on time than it is to turn it in perfectly. It's just a thing. You never forget.
Yeah.
If you're a producer, you never forget who showed up late and who didn't. You don't forget. And then I just think when things get hard on set, and they get hard on set, and you're beating your head against the wall. There's a problem, you can't figure it out. And this is maybe I'm thinking more like above the line or department heads. But what's in the way is the way. I've always felt that that's my way. Is if there's a problem, you have to accept it, embrace it, and work with it. You know? Yeah.
I think, so for me in advertising, I know we get this question a lot, which is, how do you explain to your parents what you do? So is there a movie, a film, a character that you would lead someone to say, that's what I do every day? The studio.
I know some family members will never get it. They will never understand the scope of the entertainment industry. I break it down for them in terms of, residuals. Oh, hey, I got a residual. Oh, that's good. You got money coming in, right? That's great. You got a residual check, right? But yeah, if someone asks me what I do as an actor, I would send them maybe a couple of fun commercial links or a couple TV show clips, but
Send them over to Ricky Gervais's extras and say this
yeah,
kind
exactly.
of what I do.
You get some of those family members that are, when I first moved out to LA, they were like, well, yeah, just go up to the Netflix headquarters and give them your resume and do all of that. And it's like, no, you can't really do that.
Oh, sure you can.
You can, but you'd be escorted out.
All right.
Yeah. If I had $1 for every time I got asked by a family or friend what a key grip does, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all right now. I would be in
Loaded.
my house in a very beautiful island. Yeah, and then the other one is gaffer, which I've also done. So that's always a fun thing. But with my family, honestly, I'm pretty close with them, and my kids. Growing up in it, we used to have a studio. I used to own a studio, and I lived in it for a while, and so my kids grew up there. And I'd always invite my parents too. There's like specific days that, it's a pretty chill day, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have my family stop by. So, just trying to include them, or family from out of town. Like, are you working today? Yeah, come by set. I'll step away for 30 minutes and take you around, and so you can see how it all works, because it's really hard to explain it to someone who doesn't, a key grip, it's like the gaffer makes light, the grip makes dark, and has the dolly that has the, it's like, what? The what? So nobody really knows until they really kind of put their eyes on it and just experience it, and then they can kind of see how neat it is.
All right, my last question, then we'll open it up and see if there's any questions. What's the coolest thing you've ever stolen from a set?
Stolen?
Or asked to take? We don't have to call it stealing.
I've gotten so much good shit from sets. I have the scooter from Tapawingo that Jay and
Nice.
John Heater, yeah.
Nice.
I ended up with that. That's pretty cool. It's in my garage, and we ride it around the neighborhood still. Yeah, and I've gotten tons of like really sick furniture. That's just, yeah, that's like really cool.
Both of mine are wardrobe related. The one that I didn't get to keep was the actual TC Tugger shirt from I Think You Should Leave.
Nice.
I was told that it didn't exist or was returned for credit or whatever, which I don't believe because they had to glue the knob to that shirt. I later saw it on a podium at the Netflix is a Joke festival the following year. So someone did keep it and they lied to me. The one that I do have, my family calls it the relic, because when I used to do a bunch of indie stuff and student stuff, they'd ask you to bring your own clothes. And so a lot of times I had this favorite like brown flannel, and I wore it in so many different things to the point where it had like rips in the elbows and everything. So I've kept it. That's the relic,
got its
the
own
flannel
SAG
that's been
card
on.
now?
Oh, it probably could. Yeah, it might be eligible. Yeah.
I haven't taken anything physically from a set, but you might appreciate this. When I'm working on a commercial shoot, whether I'm the assistant director or a producer, I insinuate myself into those client meals. I make sure I get invited to that dinner, and I have like a little like trick where I'm like, hey, where are you guys, they'll always be, clients will always be from out of town. I'm like, where are you guys going to eat? And they'll be like, oh, we're gonna go to, I don't know, whatever is around here. And I'm like, oh, I'm going there too. What are the chances? So, I mean, that's my thing. I don't know. I know you're not supposed to do that, but
No, that's fine.
I find a way to get into those dinners.
It's like trying to get commercial shot in locations you've always wanted to go to. Well, why don't we film this in Bali?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to thank you guys. Does anybody here have any questions for our panelists? Yeah? I don't know if this reaches.
I was curious how each of y'all prep when you don't have the luxury of a rehearsal or a tech scout individually. In the days leading up to a shoot, what's a good way to prep when there's no money in the budget for a rehearsal? And then kind of homework, like once the shoot is started, after a long day, you go back to your trailer or your hotel room. Like, are you doing anything to prep for the next day, or are you just like trying to get to sleep? So it's prep and homework. When you don't have a lot of time, what's valuable for you?
Yeah, I can think of something. I've definitely been on shoots, even commercial shoots, where there hasn't been an opportunity to scout. And for me, if it's something I'm producing, then I'm in constant contact with the client, with the agency. I need like an actual like map of every layout in that building. I need to know where every exit is, where that freight elevator is. Oh wait, there's no freight. Tell me about the size of this elevator. Like, I want all of the information in advance, and I'll get onto Google and do the Google Street Map thing just to make sure everybody knows where they're going. And for me, I think communication is the most important part of all of that. It is making sure that everybody in every department is aware at every step of the way, like, hey, like this is what's going on. We're not going to get to scout. So here's what we've come up with to make this easier for you when you guys have to load in and load out. Here's what to expect on the day of. And then if it's something I'm ADing, then it's generally the same. Just get all of that information and communicate it early and often.
I think we're kind of getting the hook from the panel. So
Jackson,
we're
come
gonna
on.
wrap this up, but maybe we can stay over here for questions and stuff like that. So if anybody needs anything or wants more answers to these questions. But I want to thank Jessie, Jarrod, and Emily, and DC Shorts, and thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Gretchen, too.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks. Thanks, Joe.